Senator Marsha Blackburn released a video statement over the last weekend in which she talked about, and I'm quoting from her, she said, constitutionally unsound rulings like Griswold v. Connecticut confuse Tennesseans and leave Congress wondering who gave the court permission to bypass our system of checks and balances. Now, what's she talking about here in Griswold v. Connecticut? There's actually a whole chapter devoted to this in my new book, The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, because it was the first case in the history of the United States where a right to privacy was identified in the Constitution explicitly by that name. 1965. There were laws on the books that went back to the 1800s, and one in Connecticut specifically that went back to the 1880s or 1890s, that said it was illegal for anybody, including a married couple, to have any form of birth control in their home, to be in possession of birth control. Birth control was as illegal as drugs, right? You couldn't have birth control in Connecticut and in multiple other states as well. And the people who were prosecuted for this were mostly single women, but occasionally even married couples. This was a married couple that brought the Griswold case, if my memory serves me right. And in that case, in a 7-2 ruling in 1965, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, we are looking at the First, Third, Fourth, Fifth, and Ninth Amendments, and we find a right to privacy. And that right to privacy includes your own bedroom. The government can't kick in the door and see if you've got birth control. Now, they were talking about condoms and diaphragms back then. Well, they were also talking about the early birth control pill, which was legalized in 61. This was 65. They didn't legalize birth control for single people, by the way, in this decision in 1965. That came in a Supreme Court decision in 1972. So right up until 1972, in some states, including Connecticut, it was a crime for a single person to possess any form of birth control, including a condom. So now Marsha Blackburn comes out and says she's going to oppose the nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson because Judge Jackson refuses to say that Griswold was wrongly decided. In fact, Judge Jackson thinks that Griswold was correctly decided, that people should have the right to have birth control in their own home. Here you have one of the most influential Republicans in the United States Senate, a secondary member of Republican leadership. She is on the Judiciary Committee that will be interrogating, or is probably right now as we're speaking, interrogating Judge Jackson, saying that Tennesseans are confused and Congress is wondering who gave the court permission to bypass our system of checks and balances. In other words, the law against birth control was passed by Connecticut. Who the hell does the Supreme Court think they are overturning that law? That's the essence of Marsha Blackburn's statement. Now, where this gets really interesting, and by the way, this 1965 Griswold decision, being the first time the right to privacy was found in our Constitution, and the reason why, of course, is the word privacy doesn't exist in the Constitution because in the 1770s it referred to using the toilet, which is why they're called privies. But nonetheless, this decision, or this argument that Blackburn is making, that Griswold should be reversed, would end the legal right to own birth control in the United States. Now, last summer, the Republican Study Committee issued a report titled, or memo titled, Lean into the Culture War. And they said in this document, the Republican Study Committee, they said, we are in a culture war and we are winning. Marsha Blackburn's statement that we should criminalize birth control in the United States is part of that Republican culture war. So my question to you is, how far can they go before we start saying, before Republicans, before moderate voters, what would you call it, independent voters, in the middle voters, before they start saying, wait a minute. I mean, making it harder to vote, you've got, down in Texas, as many as 30–40% of voter applications are being turned down. In Florida, people are being stripped from the voting rolls. In Ohio, They even took it to the Supreme Court. May we please purge all these black people from the rolls in Akron and Cleveland? The Supreme Court says, yes, you may. In a totally partisan, 100% Republican appointee decision. And America hasn't freaked out. I mean, I think African Americans across the country are going, whoa. But by and large, white people in America are like, that's okay with us. So is this going to be the thing? I mean, they're going after trans kids. They're going after gay people. They're going after lesbians. I mean, at what is it going to take for Americans to say, Republicans, you've gone too friggin' far. We now know, the jig is up. We now know what the game is. The game is to put us into subjection. Is to basically, overwhelm America with right-wing ideology, to ban our books, to shut down our schools. Enough already.